Hello and welcome to What's Your Story? We have a fabulous guest for you today. Her name is Giovanna Sardelli. Giovanna, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so excited about you being here because you're originally from Las Vegas.
Yes, born and raised.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know too many people that were really born here, more so lately than a few years ago.
Than back in my day. Yes, yeah, that's true.
In our day, yeah. But you went to UNLV.
I did.
And how did you end up in New York City?
Well, so my father, Nelson Sardelli, is an entertainer, and I grew up watching him do shows on the Strip and around the world.
Right.
And so I became a theater major at UNLV back in the days before we had theater.
Yes.
So this is before Cirque du Soleil, before anything.
Yes.
And I was a junior, about to graduate, and I realized I had never seen a professional play.
Oh, wow.
I had seen musicals whenever we'd go to New York. We would do what a lot of people do. They see a musical. But I couldn't sing, so this was a real problem because I had to see a play. And so I cried and told my parents, I'm going to have a degree that means nothing. You have to send me to this thing that I happen to know about, which is a 21-day tour of theater in London.
Ooh, wonderful.
London and Scotland. And so I went and saw incredible plays. I saw Vanessa Redgrave do Chekhov.
Wow. Oh, amazing.
I mean, and so I left there saying, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm about to have a degree in theater, and while my training was good from UNLV, it didn't make me competitive in the way I wanted to be. And so I auditioned for grad school, and NYU, I'd always wanted to be in New York. So they have a graduate acting training program.
Right.
And I auditioned and got in, which is a miracle considering I had never really auditioned for anything. Just a few little things before that.
That's wonderful. You know, but people from other places, when you come from Las Vegas, they kind of expect you to already know how to do all that.
They do. In my audition, I did my monologues, which were embarrassing.
Well, now they're embarrassing, but back then they were good.
I mean, I did play at how old was I, 20? I did do like Queen Margaret from Shakespeare, and I think I did the hand and the voice because I didn't know any better.
That's cool.
Yeah, they thought, really this girl needs training. Let's help her out.
We'll put her in school right away, right? Well, now you did acting for a while.
I did, yeah.
And you did a lot of acting, and then you made a transition into directing.
Yes.
Why did you do that? What caused you to say, oh, I'd rather be a director?
I had this wonderful training. The 3 years that I was in grad school were amazing. The roles I played, how I felt I was challenging myself. Then I got into the business, and I was an ingenue. And for years, my job was essentially to stare at the handsome lead and go, gosh, I wish I had a plot line like yours. And so I was lucky in that I had a small recurring role on a soap opera, which allowed me to be kind of lost and lazy and yet still employed as an actress for a few years. And I remember, gosh, I guess I'd been acting for 9 years, and some wonderful roles, but mostly really small, here's my first kiss again, roles. And because of my Italian name, and this is back in the day, even though I was trained, I wasn't seen for parts like, Noel Coward or English Comedy of Man. All the things I was trained to do, I really had a hard time getting seen for. So I cried. Zelda Fitch-Handler ran the NYU graduate acting program, and she started the regional theater movement in the country. She started Arena Stage Company, and she was a grande dame of theater and my mentor. And I cried in her office and said, I don't know what to do, Zelda. I have this training. And she looked at me, and Zelda was, she had to be 80, maybe, with her black hair and her leather pants. And she looked at me and went, darling, you're a director. And I went, I am? And she, in her lovely, kind way, said, it's been one of the problems of your acting. You're always aware of everything that's going on and not always able to just do your part. And then, because she ran the program and she was, there was a directing lab that she had established, she could then say, so why don't you come train for a year for free?
Amazing.
So it was like being anointed by the queen of theater and saying, I see something in you and I'm going to give you an opportunity.
That's wonderful.
Isn't it? And for whatever strange reason, breaking into directing was easier than acting, which is weird given that there's limited opportunity.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I got lucky.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. And you've directed some incredible plays and won a lot of awards.
I have
Tell us
directed
about some of those.
wonderful
My
plays.
audience wants to know all about those.
I got very, very lucky in the beginning of my career. I started directing Chekhov, and I say that, and your audience is going, "Oh my God, Chekhov! No one wants to see that." And so, people, you do want to see Chekhov. You do. It's so good. But I was working with this living playwright, Teresa Rebeck, and she said, oh, I'm a mentor for this new playwright, Rajiv Joseph, and I think the two of you would work really well together. And so I had an interview to direct Rajiv's first play. Rajiv Joseph has been on Broadway with Bengal Tiger
amazing.
at the Back.
Yes, very well known.
Yeah, he's so good. And so we came up together. I think I've directed, oh my gosh, is it 15 productions of Rajiv's?
Oh my goodness,
plays?
I thought you'd done about 7 or 8, but you've done a lot
we've
more
done
than that,
so
huh?
much. Yes, I've been so lucky. World premieres are probably 7 or 8, but actual productions,
Yes.
there's more.
What's that like to direct a world premiere? Woo!
Oh, I love it. What I love the most about it is everything I was trained to do in the way, I was trained to tell the whole story, which
Yes.
is why I was a little bored as an actress when I didn't have much to do. And the playwright is sitting right there, and you're crafting the story together.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
I feel like I have a say in the art, that I actually am helping to shape it, to make it, to bring, the playwrights I've worked with. I'm so lucky to take their extraordinary vision and make it manifest in the world.
Yes.
And it's incredible to do that.
You've worked with some other really incredible playwrights. You work mainly with living playwrights.
Yes. I like, once a year or so, I like to go off and do a playwright that's passed or not in the room so I can do whatever I want.
Oh, that's a good reason.
Yes. For the most part, I really, I gravitate towards new works. It's what I do I'm the director of new works for Theater Works Silicon Valley.
Yes.
So I love it.
Yeah. Now you live in New York, but you also work in
of.
California. Or do you live in both places?
I live in both places. And then because of the pandemic, I was actually supposed to fly to New York the day before Broadway closed.
Ooh.
And I was lucky and somebody stopped me from making that decision. And so I was in California and I thought, well, I'll come home. I'll come back to Vegas and stay with my sister who lives, like a good Italian 4 houses down from my dad. And it was amazing because I loved Las Vegas, but I always knew I had to leave to do what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And so to come back and suddenly find myself living here again. I'm still friends with all my childhood friends.
Oh, that's
so,
wonderful.
I mean, I have friendships who could have memberships in AARP. So we're really
I know that feeling. I am in that group. So you've also done a podcast for Marvel.
yes, my most favorite thing.
Really?
Yes.
That's your favorite?
As I said that, instantly I thought of several plays I've directed. So no, I'm going to say it's one of my most recent favorite things. And it was a pandemic miracle in some ways when theater shut down and, we were all trying to make theater in little Zoom boxes,
Yes.
which is terrible. You're trying to do something that people in film and TV already just do better than you'll ever be able to do it. I got a call from Marvel because a sound designer I had worked with has taken over for the audio department. That is not her title. I'm deeply embarrassed, and I'll just mea culpa and move on. Because I just called her the big cheese of Marvel, so that's never learned. But she had a podcast that she thought I would be right for. It was Marvel's first foray into comedy podcasting, and it's Squirrel Girl, the Unbeatable Radio Show podcast. I love Squirrel Girl. I didn't know who Squirrel Girl was, and now she's my favorite Marvel superhero.
Oh, wow.
But I had never done a podcast. I had done radio plays. And so it was magnificent. And to have somebody trust you, to have Marvel
Yes.
trust you with a story, and to knowing that you're going to have a learning curve was extraordinary. And Radio Point was the producers on that. And so I had these masters of the craft guiding me. I could ask questions. I really learned so much, and it's one of the most fun things. I couldn't listen to it I had to listen to it a million times to make it. But once it was out in the world, the first time I listened to it, all I heard was, I didn't quite do that, or I wished I had done. And I realized, I work in the theater, so I don't actually know how to relate to my living art. Usually, it happens, it's gone, and so I can just remember it as being fantastic.
Yes, and you don't have to hear it over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it took me about a year and a half, and then, only a year, it hasn't been out that long. And I listened to it on a walk. I started, and I was laughing out loud. And I was so proud. And then I called all my friends who'd been part of the podcast and said, have you listened? You have to listen. You've done such good work.
Oh, that's awesome. I bet they loved it that you called them and said that.
I did. Yes, they did. Because they're like me. Most of them were theater professionals who forget they can return to something.
Yeah. I know. Having been a professional speaker, I had a lot of trouble when I first started doing television, even watching myself here, because I'd always been used to being on stage doing the speech and it was over and you walk away.
Yeah.
And then I started doing television, and then I would watch the show and I would say, oh, I don't believe I did that, or that wasn't really good, or why did I ask such a stupid question? Yeah. And it took a while to just kind of relax into being me.
Yeah. You're wonderful at being you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm here with you right now, and it's working well.
Thank you very, very much. Now, you also are a black belt in karate.
Yes.
We have a picture of you. We're going to put it right up on the screen.
Oh, yeah. This is when I was a brown belt in karate. I'm a second-degree black belt in karate, and I laugh when I say that because I'm a little rusty. Not so rusty that if you tried to hurt me in a park, I could probably take care of myself, but the kind of rusty where if you thought it would be fun to throw a punch at me right now, you'd probably hit me.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you if it gives you a lot of confidence that if you did walk through a park and someone grabbed you, would you feel really like, okay, I can handle myself here?
It did. It's funny. Yes and no. I'm still a huge chicken, and when you train in martial arts, the first thing you're taught is don't ever use it.
Yeah.
We were taught run away, leave. Nothing is worth your life. You don't even think about things like when you're a person in the world. But if you break your little finger because you punch somebody, and you play piano, or you need that, you have damaged yourself. And why? Was that ego or safety? So the question of, if it's ego, just walk away. And if it's safety, then prepare to do what you must. So it helped a lot. My friend, it's such a terrible thing to say, but I was dealing with an actor who was so annoying. I had never confronted this before. And I like to use humor to diffuse situations, and I could not get this actor to work nicely and play nicely with others. And I was so frustrated, and I was telling the guy I was dating at the time, who was a black belt in karate, and he said, when somebody's yammering like that in your face, just look at him and think, you only have teeth because I'm letting you keep them. And that became such a great mantra.
I guess. I like that.
I don't know if that's true, but it really does help. And so there are times where I feel where I can let things go because why?
Yeah.
But then there are other times I noticed where I didn't understand. It's very fun. So I also taught martial arts. And most women, and I don't know if this is true anymore because, again, it's a different, more empowered, wonderful generation. But when I was teaching, and I did this, the first time a woman punched anybody, they would often say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You'd be fighting and you'd get somebody good, and then you'd go, I'm so sorry.
Did I hurt you?
Exactly. And you're supposed to want to hurt me a little. And so it was really interesting that, and I watched this happen to many, many people I trained who, if ever in their life they didn't feel powerful, when you start to feel powerful, you don't understand the responsibility of that. And the way that you have now learned to take your energy, which for a lot of people is chaotic, or, I'm going to say round in shape, and suddenly you go, I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. And the way that would hit people. It took me, years to learn to have a responsibility around even my calm Italian self. Because when I look at you and go, I'm talking to you, that to also,
yes,
yeah, exactly, to contain that.
Yes, yes. It's really interesting to me because I grew up in a time where women really were not treated with the respect that we should have been treated. And we didn't have the laws and the groups of women as support groups that women have today.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I was just with a friend of mine the other day, and she was talking about having been a single woman in Las Vegas in the 1960s. And
bless her already.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was there too. Here we were, and it was. Men just did not treat you with the respect that women should be treated with. And I'm so glad to see it has changed so much. And that women have really stood up for themselves, and they've gone and complained, and they've gone to the law, and they've done what they needed to do to have people quit abusing them.
Right.
And I think maybe I need to go back and study karate.
It's so, I'm like you. I grew up, I was able to put myself through NYU because I was a cigarette girl at the Tropicana. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you learn early on how to do the wiper walk, where you just swish your hands behind you as you go so nobody can pinch you. And it was interesting. And our marketing doesn't help because our marketing is basically,
Yeah, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Exactly.
Oh. And I hated that saying. That was one of the few things that I really, over the years, went, why would they do that?
I know. Please bring your worst self to Vegas.
Yeah. And then we'll all put up with you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we'll never tell anybody how you behave.
That's exactly. Come on, Vegas. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I look at when I became a director, you could name
the
there
women.
There
were very few women that were directors.
You can on two hands maybe, and they were the pantsuit generation.
Uh-huh.
The women who fought so hard to be in the room, and I'm so grateful because those women also made space for me.
Yes.
So I think it's my job, my responsibility,
Right.
it's my passion to do the same for the next generation
Yes.
of artists, especially women and those who have not had access in their career path in the way they should.
Right. I feel the same way. I was the first female executive in a media group of 9,000 people in South Africa at the end of apartheid. And
oh my God.
yeah, and It was strange. I was at one of my first meetings upstairs in the executive suites on the top floor with the other executives, and I asked where was the ladies' room, and one of the men turned around to me and he said, "It's on the next floor down. We never thought any of you would get this far." Wow. Whoa, and I was just like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you realize at that time, oh my goodness, here I am, and I have a responsibility to other women to do this right and to make way for them, because there were so many women in that organization that had never even been to that top floor. So I started having luncheons, inviting all the managers that were women to please come to lunch and tell me what they needed, so we could help them move up the ladder.
That is remarkable, and I want to have drinks with you, and I want to hear all about that, because I know you have a million stories to tell.
Well, and I love listening to you, because you're saying what I was feeling, that you felt the responsibility to help other women break into directing and producing in theater.
You have to.
And
you have to do it. It's funny, you were talking about the bathroom, and I was thinking, I directed Laurel Olstein's They Promised Her the Moon, which is about the Mercury 13, which were 13 female astronauts that really should have been included in the original group of astronauts. Funded by Jackie Cochran, who was filthy rich, and we're talking 50s?
Yes,
yes. Filthy rich, taught herself to fly, and it broke all the speed records. She and Chuck Yeager, just breaking records. And so she funded it because she was furious that women weren't being considered. She's also the reason women's flight suits have zippers so that they can pee.
Yeah.
Because originally it was only the front zipper, and she went, we need to go around the waist. So Jackie Cochran and all these women looked at the impediments, looked at why can't I, think about Amelia Earhart, think of all of them. Why can't I fly around the world? Oh, because I can't pee. Well, let me redesign this.
Isn't it interesting that going to the bathroom has that effect on your life?
Right? I mean, the female astronauts who just went on the mission, they couldn't go originally because they didn't have a spacesuit small enough. I mean, all this stuff is so fascinating.
It is. It really is.
And those are the stories I love to tell in my work. I think I should have learned this in school. Why didn't I know who Jackie Cochran is?
I
Jerry
know.
Cobb, when Wally Funk, who just got to take her space trip finally, she was one of the original women considered to be an astronaut and passed over. So these are the stories I like.
Yes, they're wonderful. Now, you also were named the Alumna of the Year at the University of Nevada in 2019, was it?
Yes.
And wasn't your dad just named something along that line?
Yes, he got the Dean Cope Medal. It's the Dean Cope Medal. I should have known this. But it's basically awarded to an entertainer who's also served the community.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, I don't want to take away from your award because I want to hear about that. But it just hit me. Oh, didn't I see something about her dad getting an award at UNLV recently?
It's funny though. My award was great. I mean, I was honored to be a kid who I'm the first member of my immediate family to go to college, to get into UNLV, to go to NYU and then become a teacher at NYU. I was so honored. I didn't even know that they knew that I was out in the field doing things. So that was an honor. But it was incredibly special to my sister Pietra Sardelli, who also is an amazing woman working in Las Vegas doing philanthropic shows for Golden Rainbow.
Right.
She and I got to introduce my dad. And, you know my father. He's entertained millions of people. I've never seen the man write or prepare anything. And because it was the Dean's Medal of Honor, and because it was at a university, he prepared. And he was so, it was like seeing the best of my father receive that award. My sister and I sat there and cried.
Oh,
and then thinking
you had
of
to be
introducing
so proud.
him. Yeah. Because sometimes he's just your annoying father who won't do what you want him to do. And then to reframe that and go, my God, I'm who I am because of this man. And this man who philanthropic endeavors have been part of his life from the beginning.
They have been, yeah.
Yeah. So mine was great. His was truly special, and Pietra's, I think, is forthcoming.
Oh, good.
It should be. She does so much.
Yeah, well, the Sardelli family definitely has a name in Las Vegas, that's for sure.
Oh, now I'm worried. Now I need details. I need details.
No, you know, your dad runs that Fiore Club.
I know, but the man has a better social life than
Yeah,
either
yeah.
me
I
or
mean, he's,
Pietro.
what is he, 83, 84 now?
No,
I'm not
he's
supposed
more-
to say that.
I think
he's
he
more
can.
like,
He knows he's
more like
88.
62. Oh,
He's going to be 89.
oh, is he
this
really?
year.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh!
And you would never know.
No,
There's-
no.
yeah.
And he MCs at this luncheon once a month, and he's so funny, and he does such a beautiful job, and everybody there loves him, and they keep begging him, will you please be the speaker next month? Will you please? And he won't do it, and he really should, because he's got marvelous stories.
He does. That's really funny. I'll ask him why he doesn't.
Yeah.
I think because he doesn't want it to be his club.
You're right.
And he sings. He does what he wants to do, which is bring people together, entertain them,
Yeah.
and make sure that. Well, it's called Fun Italians Organizing Ridiculous Events.
Yes,
that's what
I
Fiore
know.
stands for. So that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, well, he's a great guy, and you are a lovely woman, and he did a good job on raising you, and I know that you did a lot of that yourself, and you had a delightful mother, and you just grew up to be an incredible lady, and I'm so thankful that you agreed to be on the show today, and that we had the opportunity to get to know a little more about you, and I hope next time you're in Vegas, you'll come back and do it with us again.
I would love to. Thank you so much. And I really do want that drink, and I want to hear your stories.
We'll do it. We'll do it. And thank you for joining us today. Would you like to tell the audience how they could contact you if they would like to send you a note, or do you have a newsletter?
I have a website. I'm talking to this one. Hi. I have my website is giovannasardelli.com, and there is a contact page on that, and you can reach out to me there.
Wonderful. Thank you for doing that, because so many times I know I see someone on TV and I think, oh, I'd like to tell them something, you know, but there's no way to do it. So would you spell your name for them so
Sure.
so they can do the
So they can
.com
find
thing?
it, yes.
Yes.
It's GIOVANNASARDELLI.com. It's very Italian. Giovanna, Sardelli.com.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you. And please join us again next week for another wonderful guest.
Hi, I'm Giovanna Sardelli,
And I'm Pietra Sardelli,
and we are honored to be here to introduce our father, Nelson Sardelli.
whom we know personally. Now, our father didn't set out to be an entertainer. He immigrated from the U.S. to Brazil, sponsored by General Motors, to work at a factory in Detroit.
And then, like a positive Lemony Snicket, with a series of very fortunate events, he became a professional entertainer. Quite an accomplishment for a man with no formal education. He performed his act all over the country, but decided to settle in Las Vegas to raise his family. We are old school Vegas, like ride a horse through the desert to get to your elementary school Vegas. We learned to swim in the pool of the Flamingo Hotel because my father was a special guest of the Mills Brothers when they performed there.
Dad is a performer's performer. His artistry and talent are undeniable. He was actually pulled from the lounge at the Thunderbird to be what would be the last opening act for Judy Garland when she was performing at the Sahara Hotel. I once had the pleasure of meeting Gregory Hines, and I was so prepared for all the bragging rights that were going to come with this meeting of Gregory Hines. And when I introduced myself, he said, "Sardelli, you're Nelson's daughter? Is he still doing the things with the guns?" I'm like, how do you know my father?
We grew up watching our father perform all over the world. He dazzled audiences with his rich baritone voice, his comedy, and yes, his exquisite gun-twirling skills. Seriously, the man can throw a gun up over his shoulder, he can outdraw anyone, and he can run off a potential date faster than 10 Dobermans and a chainsaw.
This is true. And while all that was wonderful, minding the fact that we couldn't date, not each other, other people, what we were most proud of was our father's deep philanthropic connection to the Vegas community. He has one of the largest private collections of police badges and paraphernalia because he would so often perform at benefits to help fundraise for the families of fallen officers, probably inspired by his own father, who was a law enforcement officer in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And with our mother, he created Starshine, where they would gather celebrities like Rocky Graziano, Joan Rivers, Joey Bishop, David Copperfield, and many, many others to shine shoes to raise money for individuals with intellectual disabilities. He did this all over the world, but specifically here in Las Vegas to benefit Opportunity Village.
For 18 years, up to the pandemic, he would do a show at the Veterans Home every Father's Day where he would gather over 30 performers like Lance Burton, Pat Cooper, and Marty Allen to entertain the residents and heroes of the Nevada State Veterans Home. He long ago became the fundraising go-to, as he would always be able to put together an amazing show that would help local entertainers and their families in their time of need.
He loves bringing people together. It's what he does best. In fact, he still gathers over 100 people a month for his Fiore meetings, which are held at the Italian American Club. Yes. For those of you who don't know, Fiore stands for Fun Italians Organizing Ridiculous Events. And it's just that. And he's really like the mayor of the Italian American Club.
Sad to say, he has a better social life than either of us.
It's true. And through the ups and downs of life as a performer, he made sure his daughters and his granddaughter graduated from college. This one. He provided us with a stable home life, which is no small feat in such a competitive and unpredictable industry.
And while providing for us, he also provided UNLV Theater and Film School with sets, props, and film locations throughout all of our years in school.
He made sure we traveled and saw the world. And for a man who didn't go to college, he's fluent in 5 languages.
And conversational in several more.
And he sings in even more.
Thank you. We've watched him make friends all over the world, always proud of his direct from Las Vegas billing. He was a one-man diplomatic mission for the city of Las Vegas and all that we offer here.
And we are so excited to bring Nelson Sardelli, our father, onto this stage to finally receive something from a university.
Good evening, everybody. I have prepared a few words, and I don't think it will take too long. It is indeed an honor to stand here tonight. As soon as it became known that the process of selecting the 2023 recipient of the Cole Dean's Medal was made public, the College of Fine Arts received in excess of 1,200 letters, not just requesting or suggesting, but demanding that I would be a recipient. Faced with that enormous, spontaneous grassroots outburst of the community, Dean Usher and the entire committee assembled for the purpose of this award. They felt that any man who can sit down and write that many letters should be recognized. So here we are. Please indulge me. Allow me to selflessly enjoy, absorb, and digest this incredible moment in my life. I am here, one 88-year-old immigrant. As you now know, never attend college. I stand here being honored in front of such a wonderful audience composed of sophisticated, intellectual people, brilliant and successful pillars of the community, and some of you even high school graduates. I am verklempt. I am fiberglassed. Humor and levity has been my mechanism to deal on situations like this when I am at loss for words and overwhelmed by emotion. I've lived in many cities and traveled throughout the world, including Henderson. I came to the US in 1956 at a tender age of 21 with little knowledge of the English language, which hasn't changed much. And within 6 months, I was drafted into the United States Army, where I did my time, raised to the grade of Spec 3, which is corporal. And among one of my most prized possessions is my honorable discharge. When I arrived in Las Vegas, Nevada, I knew I had reached my destination. Las Vegas is my city. You are my people. And moments like this validate that Las Vegas is my home. I belong here. Getting to the second part. It has always been, I hope you don't mind, some of this I haven't heard before. It has always been a great source of pride that my two daughters, Giovanna and Pietra, are graduates of this wonderful university in the College of Fine Arts. Yes, every day I count my blessings. Every day I count my blessings, for they are many. And among them, it is memorable, unforgettable evening. I thank you. I thank you very much. Please accept my respect, my gratitude, and my love. Thank you. May the good Lord bless you.